just fuel check. It will be a pre-flight preparation of the plane. So you are the trainee pilots, and I'm the instructor. We're not going to fly Boeing or Airbus, but we will take a small airplane, Cessna 172. It's a small one, so the checklist for pre-flight preparation is much shorter. It's just 74 items. We will take only 8. We will take only 8. So first, I say the command, I do the action, and you just look. Windshield clean. Ignition off. Fuel gauges check. Flaps down. Tail tie down. Remove. Fuel level check visually. Belly fuel sump and strainer drain. Alternator belt check. 8 commands. Do you remember all of them now? I hope you don't. Okay, so now I say the command, you do the action with me. Windshield clean. Ignition off. Fuel gauges check. Flaps down. Tail tie down. Remove. Fuel level check visually. Belly fuel sump and strainer drain. Alternator belt check. Okay, now I will say the command, you will follow the action, and you will follow the answer. So if I say check, you say check with me, okay? Windshield clean. Ignition off. Fuel gauges check. Flaps down. Tail tie down. Remove. Fuel level check visually. Belly fuel sump and strain drain. Alternator belt check. Okay, now same activity. I'm sure you can do it without me, but I will join you a little later after you start, okay? So you will start without my help. Windshield clean. Ignition off. Fuel gauges check. Flaps down. Tail tie down. Remove. Fuel level check visually. Belly fuel sump and strainer drain. Alternator belt check. Okay, now you're ready to fly, but let's do the final check. Okay, I will say the command and you do the action and say what you do. Windshield ignition. Fuel gauges. Flaps. Tail tie down. Fuel level. Belly fuel sump and strainer. Alternator belt. Thank you, you did it. And I think it's a good warming up exercise for our lesson presentations today, because you see that repetition is not boring. Sometimes it's vital. We are the pilots, and we don't have just 4 people in our own life as a Cessna pilot. We have a lot more lives depending on us. So do not hesitate to do as many repetitions. Thank you.
Okay, our Zoom participants are welcome to give each other a virtual hug and give us a virtual hug. And please confirm in the chat that you can hear me now with the lapel mic or head-on sets. Thank you so much. Thank you, Josh. Okay. So, wisdom, philosophy of educational reform. So at some point we'll refer to Matthew number 7, and we'll even have a song on Matthew number 7, where the Bible is teaching us a parable about two men. One of them built his house upon the rock, and the other one who built his house upon the sand. And so today we'll talk about building, building, first laying the foundation, and then building our school, our education on a particular foundation. And in order for us to keep going with this, we need to answer 4 basic questions, and maybe you do know answers to some of them. Number 1, what is education? Number 2, what is a reform? Number 3, what is a philosophy? And what is wisdom? So these are the 4 questions we need to answer during this session. And for the very first one, I'd love for you to work now together. That's why your tables are this way. You can even rearrange one of the seats if you're more comfortable this way. And I would love for every group, I'll give you some 3 minutes, to come up with your definition of education. You're educators. You do education. So please give me a definition of education. You have 3 minutes. Please go ahead. Get together and work. For our Zoom people, since you have your chat and your communication, please also come up with your definition of education. You can chat with each other, you can do it individually, however you prefer to do it, but also we'll read your definition of education, whether individual or the one that you put together as a group. So 3 minutes. Okay, 25 seconds left. Again, there's no wrong or right definition, definitely. There are so many definitions of education, and we'll cover more in our session, but it's interesting. Okay, are you about ready? Yeah? Okay, good. Okay, then let's just start with your table, and so that our Zoom participants could hear you, we'll pass the microphone from table to table. And so somebody, yes, the time is up. Okay, I'll put down main ideas here.
So we agreed to use someone else's definition, and it is education is a process which is going inside the child while he's or she interacting with a prepared environment, with a prepared educational environment.
Interaction, Oh, very nice definition. I'm putting down just like education, like it's a process inside of a child, has to do with interaction in the educational environment. Very good. Thank you very much. Okay.
So we decided to come up with our own definition. So education is a system of ways that helps you obtain new knowledge, information, skills in different areas.
Okay, knowledge, information, and skills in different areas?
Areas, yeah.
In different areas. Okay, very good. Very good. Okay?
We came up with education is learning how to learn.
Learning how to learn. Learning to learn. Okay. Perfect. Okay. Very nice. Okay, great. And may I ask you, okay, who did you quote? Because you said you wanted to use somebody else's definition. Montessori. What can I say? Maria Montessori, okay. Okay, Maria Montessori, Montessori, okay. So let us see what our online participants have to, came up with by way of definition. Okay, okay, lots of definitions here. All right. So from Marina, the result and the process of forming a system of knowledge on a particular subject. So we add here, okay, a particular subject and knowledge of particular subjects. So yeah, I guess it's a good add-on. So subject knowledge, subject knowledge. Mr. Dmitry, can you help me? Okay, jot down the further so that I could be continue reading. Again, just main thoughts. So Lillian, okay, so she's writing this thing. Okay, just a moment. Education is knowledge acquired by learning and instruction. So we can add instruction because knowledge we already and learning to learn. So these things are there, but also instruction. Victoria, process of learning and achieving goals. Actually, I can do it like this. Why am I just yeah. But we can still. So education, knowledge acquired by learning. Victoria, process of learning and achieving your goals. That's a good thing. Okay, thank you, Victoria. Apparently, you're learning very well with the School of Tomorrow, achieving your goals. So Josh, education is the process of instilling or bringing out ideas and universal truths in the hearts and minds of people through instruction. Very good thing. And I love what process that you're using. Okay, both Maria Montessori use the word process, and here, and Ekaterina actually not only connected with children. Ekaterina, absolutely right. It's not only about children. Okay, all these things. Thank you very much. Yeah, Mr. Dmitry, thank you. Yeah, we are. Yeah, the cap is here. Okay. Okay, so we've got all these things now in place. Thank you very much. Okay, these are all things about education. And let me go back here. So we answering this question. So another definition that I have from Webster's Dictionary that was done in 1828, very long ago, almost. One of the best ones, indeed. So education comprehends all the series of instruction. Here's the word instruction that he used, and discipline, which is intended to enlighten the understanding, correct the temper. Okay, that's, in other words, character development, that we need to be able to do this. And form the manners and habits of youth and fit them for usefulness in their future stations. Look at that. 1828. What a beautiful definition of education. I believe we can glean some things. You can snap a shot, or this presentation is available in your schedule. You can always refer to this slide. Another definition that I really love, and I found it when I was searching, when I'm doing my research on what education is all about, and this is from Socrates. That is a famous philosopher. And that's what he is writing. Whom do I call educated? For those who manage well the circumstances they encounter day by day. You see, he begins to talk about circumstances that come day by day. We encounter so many circumstances every day. And when we're properly, according to Socrates, when we're properly educated, we know how to handle them. Today we talk a lot about people being stressed because life is very tough these days. And actually, as a matter of fact, it was not less stressful in the past. Just other challenges, other situations, but it was just as stressful. And he says we need to train our students to be able to handle those circumstances and situations. Next, those who are decent and honorable in their relationship with all men. And I'll continue, bearing easily and good-naturedly what is offensive in others. You know, when I'm reading Socrates, I'm thinking, well, was he reading the Bible when he was writing this? Because Paul was writing, so be at peace with all people. And that's what Socrates is also confirming in his statement, that decent and honorable in their relationship with all men. And then being easily and good-naturedly, taking easily or bearing easily and good-naturedly what is offensive in others. Wow, it's almost on the verge of love your enemies. What is offensive in others? He continues, and being as agreeable and reasonable to their associates as is humanly possible to be. You know, if we train our students to be this way, if we train ourselves to be this way, can you imagine what kind of atmosphere will be at our working places? Then he continues, those who hold their pleasures under control and are not ultimately overcome by their misfortunes. Okay, pleasures under control, that's when we talk, when people go into, in modern world, they go into booze, go into gambling, all those pleasures that they find in order to overcome some of their difficulties, and he says they need to keep them under control and not to be overcome by misfortunes. Yes, misfortunes come. Yes, bad things come into our life. We all people, even I'm sure that our youngest participants here, you already went through some challenges and some maybe traumas and some maybe even tragedies. We don't know each other's life. And he says that people, you know, in the 90s, because you probably have your own examples, but I do personally know people who became drunkards and actually died because they could not handle the change of the 90s. When the Soviet Union fell apart, when all of a sudden there are all different countries, new system, new everything, new politics, and some people could not handle it. They just went into drunkenness, and so that's how they thought they would handle it. So not to be overcome by their misfortunes. And then those who are not spoiled by their successes. You remember I shared with you a story how one of my American colleagues came to my office when I became the CEO of the International School of Tomorrow. And she was watching me, and she was saying, I want to just watch you to see how you are going to handle the new position and the new authority that you have. How you're going to treat people now. Are you going to be just looking down at people or what? She didn't say anything, but she said, she was sitting in my office looking at me, and she said, I just wanted to come and see how you will handle your new position. No pressure. And then she left. She didn't say a word. But what I'm saying now, that's how I interpreted her visit. Because in Russia we have a statement. We have a saying, пройти огонь, воду и медные трубы. So when we say to go through water and that's why in our school, I'll probably just going ahead a little bit, we just say, do not take upon yourself all the successes. Give all the praise to God, because it's His. Victory belongs to Him. And then he says, who do not desert their true selves, but hold their ground steadfastly as wise and sober-minded men. So whatever happens, they know where they stand. They know their foundation. They know their principles. They know what they believe in, and they do not depart whatever storms come in. So Socrates made a beautiful, beautiful statement about education. Okay, and I, of course, well, my son is here. Alex, I usually, I know that you hear me, and I usually I share the story about you. I'm sorry, pretend that you don't hear me, but there was a case when Alex went to a birthday party with one of his best friends, and he was about 15, I believe. Alex, correct me if it's not right. So they offered booze to him, and he refused, okay, to take booze. And so the friend who was a birthday boy, he said, Alex, how you're letting me down in front of my friends that you're not drinking with us? And this day Alex came back home later. Only the next day I found out what happened, but he was so upset, and I saw there was just almost tears in his eyes. And you know what? He didn't have a relationship with this. He could not actually go back to his friend for about 2 years. But in 2 years, ultimately, the friend invited him, and he said, Alex, sorry, I was wrong. I'm very sorry. This young man already came to Valerie's 5th year anniversary. He came with his wife, and at this time probably she was his girlfriend. I don't quite remember, but he was there. This friend is there, you know, and he was one. Again, not Alex didn't do anything. All he did, he took his stand, and he did not desert his true self. He just believed what he believed in, and that was, for me, it was one of the best stories ever, okay, that happened in the life of our family. And we go to another definition. Now we go to the law on education. And when I was translating this, it's taken right from the law on education of the Russian Federation. It says, education is a deliberate process. It means intentional. So there's no, if something is being put into curriculum, national curriculum, it is deliberate, certain ideas, certain philosophies. But then it says, of character development and teaching. When you say teaching, you can insert here the word instruction. You can insert probably educating, but since we talk education, it would be not a good thing to use education, but instruction and teaching in the interests of an individual, the society, and the state, accompanied by confirmation of achieving of the set by the state educational outcomes by that individual. If I were to decipher it one more time, number one, deliberate process, and they put character development as number one. Not instruction, not subject matter, not learning technologies. They say character development is number one. And in that respect, I believe the Russian law on education is very Christian. And number two, it says, in the interests of an individual. I will say this, the proclamation does not always match the reality. Okay? That's true. But I also believe that it's very important that when one of the main laws of the Russian Federation says this, you can always refer to this when you organize your educational process. And so what it means in the interest of if you go further into the law, when it says in the interest of an individual, it means in the first place that a child should be number one, family should be number one. It also, in the Russian law on education, it says that who is responsible for education of your children? Parents. Guys, it is one of the best biblical principles ever. Because in Germany, for example, they say who is responsible for education of the children? The state. The state. Do you think they have homeschooling there in Germany? No, they don't. If you homeschool your child in Germany, you go to jail. You can be denied your parental rights by social services. And I'm not speaking out of hearsay. I'm speaking from my experience of meeting a person from Germany who was at that time living in Australia. And the whole family went to Australia because in Germany, the social services told them that they will put their kids into custody and will take them away from the family because they refused to put them to school, and they said we will homeschool our children. So again, in that respect, the Russian law on education is very good when it says that family is responsible, parents are responsible for education of their children. And then of course, when we say achieving of the set by the state educational outcomes, that's can you translate into Russian what it means? yes, and it also says that when it says that you have to confirm that your education is at the right level, it's YG. That's YG. That's what it says here. That, of course, they say, we give you the right, okay, to even to educate your own children. You can homeschool them. You know, in Russia, it's really amazing. You can educate a child for 9 years without going to school, without being assigned to a school. And then when the child is a 9th grader, you show up and you say, here I am. I want to take OGA, an exam. And they must give you an exam. And if you pass it, you're fine. You get your document. So that's really the beauty of what we have in our law and the freedom we have. So that's why I'm not, by no means, I'm downplaying things that are happening in Russia. There are lots of good things happening, and I'm happy that our law on education is treating things this way. Again, the reality might be a little bit different, but the law says it's good. Okay, and a few more ideas about education. So one of the philosophers, I believe his name is Alfred Toffler, he wrote in one of his books, Future Shock, and he is the one who was challenging educators all around the world. So he says, in the future, we will consider uneducated not the one who cannot read or write, but the one who cannot learn, cannot forget what he has learned, and learn anew. Learning to learn. Yeah, you're like Toffler. You're challenging, yeah, learning to learn. So they say information is changing, new skills are required, new things need to be learned, and unless you know how to learn, I'm not sure that you will be considered educated if you cannot read or write. I really doubt it. That's a little bit too much, an overstatement. However, special reading. So writing, of course, even now you can just talk into your telephone and just write messages through talking. The conversion to text is amazing. It's just so accurate. But anyway, learning new things is a must. So, and when we come to the next, to this question and how the School of Tomorrow treats education, we basically say education is life. So when we have our celebration of the Teachers' Day, we have here teachers, we have here technical staff, we have our cleaning staff, we have our kitchen staff. Everybody is being congratulated because education is life. And I'm maybe you don't know, but when I'm having my weekly meetings with all our office staff and technical staff and service staff, I always reiterate almost in every meeting, guys, we are a school and kids get educated by way of how you clean. They're getting educated how our playgrounds and our sports grounds look. They get educated how you treat them in the cafeteria. If you shout at them, if you just use bad words, this is education for them because they're going to bring this into this world. So education is life, and so we should understand this. And one of the confirmations that that educational process also has to be done in a certain way. And I'm quoting here one of the Russian educators, also philosophers on education, Evald Ilyenkov, who is writing in his book. His book is called «Школа должна учить мыслить». School must teach to think. So he's saying in this book, apparently assimilation of knowledge has to be organized in such a way as it is organized by life. Namely, in a way that will make a child train not so much his memorization skills, though nothing is wrong with memorizing Bible verses, okay? That's what we're doing. Nothing is wrong with that. But he says, not so much his memorization skills, but rather his ability to solve problems requiring independent thinking. So you have to be what Dr. Daniel Abu sometimes says, to think outside of the box. It's not, of course, your expression, it's like a common expression, but this is right, to think outside of the box, to have independent thinking, not only what you are told to do, what you are taught to do, but really just going outside of this. And that's, again, one of the skills we need to convey to our students in our educational process. The second question, I didn't ask you to to come up with ideas about philosophy, but when we do education, you know what is interesting? Philosophy comes in very intricately. We're not doing education without having some philosophical foundation for our life and how we understand what education should be. And so if you read Soviet Encyclopedia, and this is the definition from 1990. So philosophy is a form or a social social consciousness, worldview, so how we understand the world, how we understand system of ideas and views of the world, a place of a human being in this world. You see, before we begin to educate a child, we need to understand, okay, why is he here? How did he come into this world? What happened to the mankind? How the mankind showed? Where is our child going after he dies? We all die. Sorry, we all die one day. God has a timing for every one of us. And so this is again understanding, okay, and why is he here on this earth? What is his purpose? Just to, again, to enjoy life, just and nothing else, or something else. And then it researches cognitive, which is how we will learn, and value-oriented attitude of a man towards the world. You see, how we understand the world, how we learn about the world, and values. So without all these things, the place of a person, how we are learning what are our values, we cannot do education. So philosophy is a part of our life. And then okay, one more time, a reform. By the way, give me just your brief definition. What is a reform for you? Changes? Change? And change, okay, change something new. Change for better, change for worse? For better. Yeah, for better, because change can be different. Exactly right. So one of the definitions here, which I found in it was Wikipedia, but look at this definition, very interesting. So reforms means to put or change into an improved form or condition. Okay, change for the better. That's what you said. And then it is beneficial change. It means if we change something, we should benefit from it. Otherwise, why changing? And that's why educators all around the world say, why changing education all the time? Is it really beneficial for the kids? Is it really beneficial? Because many teachers say, okay, the old curriculum is still current. We are still learning how to use the old curriculum. All of a sudden, next year, the new one is coming up. What do you do with this? Then look at this. More specifically, reversion to a pure original state. Reform something new, going forward. All of a sudden, reverse. If you drive, reverse gear means backwards. Reversion to a pure original state. Wow. Interesting. All of a sudden, reform going forward, new, beneficial, reverse, go back. In the School of Tomorrow, one of the principles, as we claim it, is to be back to basics. Back to basics. So that's what it's all about. And I found out that reform is also about going to the pure original state, unmarred, something that a pure original state, a family is a man and a woman. This is pure original state. Because now the new changes. They say, oh yeah, a family can be a woman and a woman, a man and a man, and it's fine. So reversion to pure original state, to repair, restore, or to correct. Okay, so that's why, again, we're talking about reform, and the name of the session was Wisdom, Philosophy of Educational Reform. So in some way, it is going back to the original state. And so if we go with you to review how education is built, so we see these things, that our education is, we may say it's a part of a culture, so it's based on a culture. The culture is based on the values that are being promoted, and you're well aware that in different countries, different values are being promoted. but the values depend on the foundational presuppositions. It means how we, on our philosophy, how we view the world, how we view a man or a child in this, in our case, in this world. What is the purpose? How it all originated, and so on and so forth. So just to have some breakdown and to think about it a little bit more, I'd love you to do one activity. Now you see those stones on your desks. Our Zoom participants, you don't have stones. Unfortunately, I cannot just offer you, okay, to do the same thing. But we'll do it this way. I'm giving you 3 minutes, and I'd love you to build as high a tower as possible using the stones on your desk. You probably saw it on Facebook and some other YouTube, whatever. They have people who actually do it. Okay, about 2-3 minutes. And for those of you who are in Zoom, please put down what foundational presuppositions you would love to put into education. What should be, according to your understanding, cornerstones for education in your school. Okay, about 2-3 minutes, please. Make it as tall as possible. Yeah. Yeah, and it's a teamwork too. Yeah, that's right. When we build our foundation or we build our school, oh, excellent, excellent. Yeah, and the goal is to use as much as possible all the stones you have. You'll figure out that some stones, yeah, might not be fitting. Okay, this table is done. Okay, good, very good. Excellent, excellent. While you're putting them together, I will tell you all those stones, they were brought by myself from Abkhazia. It's a place near the seaside. We used to have, and now there are lots of resort places there. In the Soviet time, it was one of the most famous places for wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Oh, yes. I tried it last night. Oh, excellent. Excellent. That's all right. You know what? Some stones might not fit. It's actually... okay. All right. Finish where you are. Okay. Tell me a little bit about okay, when you're building it. Any difficulties? Any specific things that you encountered? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Anything? Mm-hmm.
It was a little wobbly, but you pivot a stone here and turn a stone there, and you just have to find the right grooves, and they'll stay.
Okay. Why did you put the hot or the big one at the bottom?
Because you need a good foundation and nice and flat, not too bumpy, not too small, or else the whole thing will fall down. If we'd started with the round stone, everything would have been too balanced wrong, and it would have completely fallen down.
Yes, excellent, excellent. Yes. All right, I almost done. Okay. Oh, look at this. This is a creative team. Okay, they're putting some stones on the side. Uh-huh. That's good. That's creative. That's creative. Very nice. Very nice. Okay. And look, you see, when we introduce too many changes into our education, that's what happens. That's what happens. But you did excellent. You did an excellent job. And in the beginning, we mentioned the book of Matthew and the parable about building the house on different foundations. So I'd like us and our Zoom participants say that what they would put into the foundation is adaptation to the individual needs of each student, learning in love, positive motivation, positive relationship. Thank you very much. That was good. High quality education. Very good. So we need to have the right foundation. And so let us just sing this song that you can also sing with the kids when you do the chapel or the morning opening. The wise man built his house upon the rock. And there's some actions involved. The wise man built his house upon the rock. Please watch Tanya, watch Asa, and so let's do it with the action. The wise man built his house upon the rock. The wise man built his house upon the rock. The wise man built his house upon the rock, and the rains came tumbling down. The rains came down and the floods came up. The rains came down and the floods came up. The rains came down and the floods came up, and the house on the rock stood firm. Now about the foolish man. The foolish man built his house upon the sand. The foolish man built his house upon the sand. The foolish man built his house upon the sand, and the rains came tumbling down. The rains came down and the floods came up. The rains came down and the floods came up. The rains came down and the floods came up, and the house on the sand went crash. Okay, that's what we are talking about, and thank you for the illustration of crashing the house, even though ultimately I see that you restored everything to the pure original state. You did reform your education right. You might be willing to disassemble your towers lest it... oh, look at this! Yes! Excellent, excellent. So finally you got it. That's a challenge. And again, these are good illustrations how you can do it education in a direct way without any without just in a straight way, how you can become creative and you can just build something on the side, and how you struggle and struggle and struggle, finally get it. Yeah, right. So that's all the processes. It's a process. It's a process even for us to build our education. And so further we go, now what we put into our foundation, let's just talk real briefly. We have